So this girl is telling me in a session, oh my gosh, I think I'm being hexed. My energy is so low. I keep having car trouble. I have no appetite. I'm, getting hurt. And I'm getting ready to dive into her energy, find out what's happening to her, talk to her spirit guides and see what's going on. And before I can even shuffle my deck to pull a card, I hear her guides say loud as hell, that ain't no curse or hex. She's just not taking care of herself. And I was like, dang. Welcome back to another episode of Cosmosis or Whatever with me, your host, Celia Marie 1243, Celia the Spirit Guide Whisperer. I'm your friendly neighborhood psychic, tarot reader, and ancestral energy healer. I'm a spiritual mentor. And you, my friend, my dear moonbeam, you're here because you want some guidance and support on your healing journey. You are wanting to learn how to trust yourself and your intuition, connect with your spirit guides. Yes, you are in the right place. Subscribe if that fits your vibe. Ooh, okay, I wasn't expecting that to rhyme. Okay, subscribe if that fits your vibe. That might have to be the thing. And if you've been around a minute and you haven't had the chance yet to rate the podcast, please do. Thank you for listening. And real quick, here's something I feel really called to do. If you have been looking for a spiritual community to get serious about learning, tuning up your intuition, learning about spirit guides, learning magic, you have found us. And so the next 7 people, the 7 new people who join our Patreon community will get my spiritual bath ebook, Healing Waters, for free. Any tier, the lowest is $11, but make sure you check out the other tiers too. We have a $22 tier and a $55 tier a month. There are lots of perks, and I have been posting content on Patreon for years. The top tier also gets a free hoodie after 3 months of membership. So first 7 people, ready, go. Okay, back to the episode. This is a much needed topic because I can't tell y'all how many people ask me for readings about if they've been cursed, jinxed, hexed, and I love to help y'all with that, honestly. I love the readings where I get to play psychic detective and spirits kind of just showing me in all of these crazy ways that just make sense to the both of us. And genuinely, maybe half the time it is someone spiritually attacking you, but a lot of times it can also be prevented, or it could be caught on to earlier, because sometimes the longer it goes on, it really just gets worse. Fear makes it worse. We'll talk about that later. Sometimes there isn't even any spiritual attack per se, but it has to do with your own energy hygiene or lack thereof. Those with a lack of boundaries, I am looking at you. Yeah. And so, disclaimer, by the way, okay, this episode is in no way meant to gaslight you and tell you that you aren't being psychically attacked. Okay, I've been there more than once. It sucks. I am here to just shed some light, to give some information about alternatives that can maybe feel kind of similar to being spiritually attacked. And of course, if you need help determining if you're being spiritually attacked, I can help in a session. Book a sacred insight session. Okay, tell me what's going on. But first, please banish, cleanse, ground, and protect. And you may actually not even need a reading at all. You might be able to take care of it yourself. I want to teach y'all how to do that, but if you need me, I'm here. So I did this reveal and protect spell like a week ago, and it is for revealing your enemies or any areas of your life that aren't fully protected. It brings them to your attention. So it's a really good one. I'm actually going to be sharing that in the spells collection on my Patreon. Please remind me, y'all patrons who are listening to this, remind me. But that candle, it was a candle spell, super simple, but it did its job. Okay? Like all of the other simple candle spells I have on there, did its job. I knew exactly where the negative energy was coming from, but what I didn't expect is for my spirit guides to tell me that it could have all been taken care of with better energy hygiene. Ooh, Okay. Now, as a professional energy reader, I have to have tip-top energy hygiene, right? I'm dealing with people's energies all day. So I'm constantly sending people's energy back, cleansing my space, clearing spirits that have visited out so they're not draining me. But a message that has been coming through for me and for the collective, that's you lately, from Spirit, is that all of us, sensitive people, empaths, psychics, whether you do it professionally or not, are getting more and more sensitive to energy as we kind of level up. Okay, all of these upgrades that we're getting, timeline shifts. And that might sound bad, but it's actually a gift. And if we know how to work with that gift, it'll be stronger. We won't have any worries, and it will really help us to live our best lives. This gift, though, like many other gifts, comes with responsibilities, like upgrading our spiritual hygiene routines. It is going to be mandatory for us to do it if we don't want to feel constantly overwhelmed with other people's energy. Okay, it's not a choice anymore. I did a YouTube video about this a while ago. And almost every message Spirit is bringing me lately, whether it's a personal reading or a collective reading on YouTube, I've been doing those more lately. All of the messages are you're leveling up, fix your spiritual hygiene, upgrade your spiritual hygiene. So spiritual hygiene, aka energy hygiene, refers to the regular practice of, keeping up with a clean, balanced, and protected energy field, or what we also call an aura. Okay. Physical hygiene helps to keep our bodies, healthy, right? Brushing our teeth, taking showers. Energy hygiene does the same, but for our energy. So there are so many different kinds of intentional activities and rituals that can help to clear out the negative or stagnant energy, to ground your energy in the present moment and to shield your energy, protect it from any unwanted influences, because not all influences that kind of end up in our field are necessarily negative. They might just not be wanted, right? So banish, cleanse, ground, protect, in that order. If you want to ground, I would recommend grounding before, but in that basic order: banish, cleanse, protect. Throw your grounding in there somewhere, because that's important too. And I talked about that a few episodes back. And if you've noticed, all the latest podcast episodes have been focused on this because of how important it is for us right now. I've been having this feeling that our energy is just shifting to this point where we cannot ignore our spiritual hygiene. It has to get better. And the people who have been feeling that too, I've gotten so many, messages or comments, people who have bought the book, the ebook, saying, I have been keeping up with my spiritual baths. I can tell the difference. All right. I kind of want to do a class on this, actually. It's something a lot of us were never taught, but there's no shame in that. There's no time like the present to step into our power. Let me know if you'd want a class on, energy, hygiene, spiritual maintenance. We may do that for one of our full moon meditations coming up. So I'm going to give you guys some signs of poor spiritual hygiene or poor energy hygiene. Okay. Pay very close attention. Okay. Energetic stagnation. So feeling very heavy, feeling drained, feeling stuck without any clear outside cause, right? So if something happens, right, okay, yeah, you could feel that. But it just kind of, you don't really know why it's happening. You may feel weighed down. You might feel tired, or like you're kind of moving through molasses, right? Your energy, your motivation is just low. extremely low energy levels. Emotional instability. You could have unexplained mood swings. This one happens to me when I'm not keeping up with my spiritual hygiene. I have mood swings. I get irritable. You can feel just very overwhelmed at the smallest things. And Spirit is actually bringing something to my attention. For those of us who are neurodivergent, a lot of us are more sensitive anyway to energy. We've talked about this. And so it's so important for people like us to keep our energy hygiene up, because we're so susceptible to feeling this way because of it, because of not having our energy hygiene taken care of. You know what I mean? Okay. So that's a little nugget for my neurodivergent people, my neurospicy people out there. So another thing with emotional instability, your thoughts could feel really scattered or cloudy. Okay, you could have trouble focusing or making decisions. And, everybody kind of has a base level of where their energy is. If you never do spiritual hygiene, you could think that these things are just normal for you, but that's not really your base level of your energy. I would try getting into spiritual hygiene and seeing what changes. It might not completely fix everything, but it'll help. Okay. That's why it's important to do spiritual hygiene, so that you can find out where your neutral is, so that and you can feel those ups and downs, and you'll know exactly what to do. Some physical symptoms of poor spiritual hygiene, just fatigue. We kind of talked about that. Headaches. That's a really big one. A sense of being just off, like you feel off. You could get really overwhelmed in crowded places or around negative people. Your protections probably aren't up, or maybe your boundaries aren't very strong. All right. Not an all-inclusive list. Everybody's energy is completely different. It is actually much easier for me to just kind of be told by your, reading your energy, what's going on with you. But as much as I love to read for y'all, I also like to teach. So the thing is that all of those signs can also be signs of spiritual attack as well. Raise your hand if you already knew that. Are you raising your hand? If you did, good job. Following your intuition is also going to be really helpful in determining which it is. Or it could be both. It could be both. So y'all know I'm all about intuition. Please follow your intuition. If you don't have a great sense of intuition yet, you might want to join us for Circle. The next one is next Friday. This is your sign to work on your intuition, friend. Those first 7 people get the ebook. Just throwing it out there again. But one thing I'll say about spiritual attacks, as somebody who has been attacked many, many times by people close to me and by random weirdos, spiritual attacks are about 80% mental. I think 80% is a pretty accurate percentage, right? Being scared that you're being attacked will literally make it worse. And a lot of people bank on that, actually. Okay. You know what helps keep a protective barrier around you so that you can either be immediately alerted by your intuition if you're being attacked, or if you build a strong enough barrier for their little jinx or whatever to get zapped like a mosquito. Energy hygiene, friends. Okay. You see how it's all connected? Cosmosis. That's what cosmosis means. Everything's all connected. Okay, so here are some signs of a true spiritual attack. Keep in mind, again, these are very similar to what spiritual hygiene, a lack of spiritual hygiene feels like. So please use discernment with this list. Use your intuition. That kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. So sudden, unexplained events. So this is things taking a sharp turn in your life for the worse. That'll kind of be either out of nowhere or out of direct connection to somebody, right? You might experience just a streak of bad luck. And sometimes when it's happening, you'll just notice that every time you have bad luck, you're around that person, or you're thinking about that person, or you just got off the phone with that person, or whatever. But that could also be about spiritual hygiene, or not keeping up with spiritual hygiene, not disconnecting energy, that kind of thing. You could have really intense conflicts with other people. Sometimes people will, do spells or things to break you and your family up, or you and your support system, you and your significant other, or you might have unexpected losses. And some of these things could also just be spiritual lessons for you in patience. Like, maybe you need to learn how to ask for help, or maybe you need to learn how to be resourceful. Keep that in mind. Again, intuition, discernment will tell you the difference. Physical discomfort as a sign of a true spiritual attack. You may feel sudden headaches. You could get tightness in your chest, nausea, body aches with no physical cause. Like if you're sick or something, that could be caused by attack, but not always. So again, discernment. Energetic drain. Your energy just feels like it's being siphoned. Now, the word siphoned really nails it for me, because I've definitely felt like this a couple times when I was being spiritually attacked. And one thing that I have gotten from a lot of one-on-one sessions and personal experiences is that a lot of people are actually siphoning divine feminine energy. They are noticing people with beautiful, blossoming, divine feminine energy and wanting that for themselves, so attacking it, like energy harvesting. And we'll have to talk about that in another episode. Child, I couldn't possibly cover all of these things. We'd be here for years if I just talked about all of this in one episode. Okay. But waking up feeling just really exhausted, even after you've had a full night of sleep. You might have had, dreams about a certain person. Similar to not keeping up with spiritual hygiene. You see how they're so similar, but it's going to feel different if your intuitive channel is clear. How do you keep your intuitive channel clear? Say it with me, folks. Energy hygiene. Okay, negative thought patterns. This one happens to me for sure when I get spiritually attacked. If you get bombarded by negative thoughts and they don't feel like they're yours, like if you just, again, you find that neutral, that kind of average of where your energy usually sits, and you just notice you don't feel like yourself. Okay. Maybe you have usually a positive mindset, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, no trigger, it just flips to being anxious, to being fearful or paranoid. And if you're working on your intuition, you'll be able to tell if it feels like your own energy or if it feels like someone else's. This has happened to me a bunch of times, and I've been able to tell kind of the difference, but it does take some practice. Increased sensitivity to spiritual activity is also a sign of a true spiritual attack. You may feel a presence around you that isn't comforting. Okay, again, discernment here, people. A lot of people I've read for think that there's evil eye around, or hexes or jinxed, even curses, but it's actually your spirit guides. Okay, that's happened with a bunch of my personal readings too. Maybe some of you guys listening to this have, had a personal reading with me where I'm like, no, child, that's just your spirit guides. Spiritual hygiene helps to keep your intuition clear and ready to receive information. So it's interesting because I feel like for all of the years that I have been, mentoring, that I've been teaching, reading for people, I've always talked about spiritual hygiene. Your spirit guides always bring up spiritual hygiene, but I feel like we've just gotten to this point where it's so important that we cannot ignore it. And so this kind of buildup of all of that makes so much sense to me. So much sense. Know as well that not all spiritual attacks are created equal either. Okay, I'd also like to talk about the difference between jinxes, hexes, and curses eventually on another episode. So whatever content y'all want, remind me, because I got ADHD and y'all know I'll forget. But when you are feeling off, Okay, so say some of this stuff is happening. Here are some questions that you can ask yourself. It is important to kind of step back, ground yourself. Why do you think we're always talking about grounding as well? That's part of your spiritual hygiene process. Okay, take a step back, ground yourself, assess what's going on. Here are some questions that you can ask yourself that might kind of get your the wheels greased on your intuition and discernment. Okay, so did this feeling come on suddenly or did it come on gradually? Okay, suddenly, especially in, if maybe somebody came into your life who was a bully for you a long time ago, and all of a sudden they come into your life and you feel sick and nauseous and anxious, and might be a spiritual attack. If it was gradually, that could also be sometimes curses and attacks. They're meant to be gradual, but you'll still be able to tell if your intuition is strong and clear. Okay. So just pay attention to that. Intuition. Are there any patterns or triggers? Like I said, if somebody pops up, pay attention to whether it kind of comes up during specific times, like after you spend time with certain people, or if you're in draining environments. But if you haven't been setting boundaries with those people, that could also just be poor hygiene. Okay. Are you taking care of your spiritual energy regularly? Well, spirit, energy, same thing, but are you taking care of it regularly? If you haven't been doing things like grounding, you're cleansing, or setting energetic boundaries and other boundaries, chances are you could just be feeling the effects of neglected spiritual hygiene. Okay. Another question you can ask yourself, are there physical signs of the interference that's going on? Okay. Look for physical symptoms that might seem intense, that don't have any explanation, like sudden sharp pains, dizziness, waking up with a sense of dread. That can point to spiritual attack for sure. If it's more like a lingering tiredness, especially if you haven't been taking care of your hygiene, it's probably hygiene. Spirit can also give you lots of messages in TV shows, in your dreams about stuff like this. If someone in a dream is trying to make you drink something, be very aware and do not drink it. That is actually how I found out that my ex had bad intentions. I'll have to tell that story. I think I actually did tell that story in a previous episode. If y'all want me to tell it again or tell some more stories of my spiritual attacks so that you know what signs and things to look out for, I can definitely do that. So after you've asked yourself some of these questions, tuned in with your intuition, what do we do next? If it is just spiritual hygiene that you've been neglecting, start with a simple energy reset. Do a banishing, do a cleansing ritual, ground yourself. Okay, set up some energetic protection. You would be surprised how much better you feel after a good spiritual bath or a shower. I have a bunch of recipes for banishing, cleansing, grounding, protection in my spiritual bath ebook. You can literally use a bath to do all 4 of the steps at the same time with the right intention. Okay, link is in the description to grab the ebook, or if you want to be one of the 7 first people to get on Patreon and get your copy for free, then join us on Patreon. So I recommend, combining the recipes as you see fit. And if you've never done a spiritual bath ever before, if you haven't ever done spiritual hygiene, if you haven't, taken a spiritual bath or a spiritual shower in a while, I recommend you do it for 3 days in a row. Okay. And there is some information in the spiritual bath ebook about what it might feel like after you take your spiritual bath. So pay attention to that. Because that sometimes we think that something went wrong after we took our spiritual bath, and no, it's really just everything clearing out. If you think it is a spiritual attack, it's honestly, again, very similar. you're definitely going to want to strengthen your protection right away. Okay, banishing and cleansing. Banishing is very, very important when you know it's a spiritual attack for sure. Okay, banishing gets rid of whatever is there. Cleansing kind of just cleans up after whatever is there. Okay, grounding is important here too. You can use, there are so many things you guys can use. I might need to do a book on this or a class. You can use crystals there. You can use salt, right? Salt is a very simple, cheap, protective, tool, ingredient. You can do protective visualizations. You can call in your spirit guides. Highly recommend calling in your spirit guides no matter what you do, actually, especially if you work with any deities or anything like that. You could do a banishing ritual to clear away any of the unwanted energy. Then you do what? Cleanse. I'm over here talking to y'all like you're like actually answering, right? You banish, cleanse, ground, protect. If you want to ground before, I recommend that, especially if you're scared, because you don't have to be scared. Remember, fear is bound to make things worse. Okay? Like, be confident in knowing that you are protected, because if you have been told that you are being spiritually attacked, either in a reading or you just get confirmation from the universe, that is literally your spiritual protection. Not just knowing, but being able to know and knowing what to do. Having the knowledge of energy hygiene is literally protection. Use it. Okay? I may just do a class on this. What do y'all think? It'll probably be on Patreon, where I'm also going to be answering some of your questions about this. I did a Q&A recently, and I think I can just post regular videos instead of threading it through YouTube. So that'll be good for Patreon. So I can answer some of your guys' questions that you've asked. But you guys, in either case, the solution really lies in being proactive with your spiritual hygiene. I could not make this stuff up. Okay, you're going to feel so much better after it. Regular maintenance will keep you from mistaking an energetic buildup for a spiritual attack. And it can actually help you fend off negative energies before they even gain momentum. If you have strong protection, somebody could be hexing you, cursing you, and you kind of feel just like a little itch and you're like, I need to banish, and boom, it's gone. Okay, boundaries are spiritual protection. Saying no and meaning it is spiritual protection. People leaving your life can be spiritual protection. Staying out of gossip is spiritual protection. And the list goes on and on, y'all. But there is nothing to be scared of for real. You are armed with knowledge, divine protection, intuition. Use it. Work with what you have. Being attacked can actually be an initiation to a higher realm of spiritual connection. Okay, I will actually be doing that episode soon about how, spiritual attack can literally be an initiation. And hopefully I'll be doing it with a guest. So subscribe, stay tuned. Remember, everything is connected. That's Cosmosis. Thanks for listening, y'all. I will talk to y'all again soon. Bye.